Um, Thank you for raising that question. Those of you in the main room and anyone else who may have been wondering it, I had asked if you would, I meant to begin with it this afternoon with the contemplative piece. So each of you, I believe, has a symbol from nature. I have a couple of twigs on the wall, as you'll see, but a symbol from nature that has some meaning for you. So let's begin this second half with a few moments or a moment of quietness, and then I'll invite anyone who wishes to share what that symbol means to them. Why was it that you chose that particular one? How does it speak to you? Just as when we move into contemplation, so we hear the whisper of creation speaking to us. So let's just take a moment, and then I'll invite as many of you as you'd like to just say a couple of words about your symbol. And thank you for the reminder. Okay.
We have one, Mary, we do have one coming up from the audience.
Great. So, and this is a beautiful gift of reflection.
No, you need to stand right here and talk to both. Oh, this is up close to you.
Okay.
And this one's for the computer.
Life is beautiful. I walked into the bathroom this morning and I picked up that sign that said, "Life is beautiful." And I was thinking how beautiful our life is here. And this is beautiful too.
That's lovely. Thank you. Yes, the whole of creation is beautiful. The whole of our lives are beautiful. And how do we share that beauty? Thank you, sister. Thank you. Anyone else there with a symbol?
Yep, another one.
So you can't, I don't know if y'all can see this. So it's just a dead leaf. It's just a leaf. But I'm actually an ecologist. I'm a trained ecologist. I'm actually a trained ecologist. And so what I know about this, what we think of as a dead leaf, this is carbon and nitrogen and potassium. And when it actually breaks down, it is actually food for the next generation. The other thing I love about,
Whoops.
so sorry. Too many things up here. I'm also a mathematician. So the geometric perfection of this, y'all can't see it, but the stems, the way everything is the same on the left as it is on the right. I'm sure it's not perfectly, but there's a sense of repetition that's part of differentiation and diversity in biology, and form and function. These are all the things that, that jump out at me about this, just what looks like a dead leaf that we're just going to sweep up, and you just want to get it out of your way when you're walking in the door, but it's actually quite vital to our ecosystem.
Thank you. Now, if I'd known you were an ecologist, I would hand it over half the sessions to you and save myself a little bit of time. Okay, anyone else? Oh, yes, I see a beautiful sunflower by the look of it.
Yes, I brought this sunflower because Kansas is a sunflower state, and the sunflower, I assume, has been shared by all generations of Kansans. And it's a work of art. It's a beautiful flower. But I picked it from our garden last night, and our gardener, Sister Pat, I said, "Oh, Pat, look." And she was somewhat disgusted with me and said, "I planted those for the birds." And so I said, "The birds and I are one, Pat."
Maybe you can go outside and shake a few seeds off of it for the birds. So you share. Lovely. Thank you.
This is Jean Ann at the Mother House.
Hi, Gina.
Let's see.
Oh,
That's the shell of a locust.
mm.
And last night when I was out at the park and I saw it hanging underneath of a tree branch, and I knew I had to get it for this reason, because also on the back of it is slid open, and that's where the locust came out, the cicadas that we listen to in the evenings here that have such a beautiful, and it's for me, it's new life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lovely, Gina. Great variety. This is the best bit of these days. I'm only grateful you reminded me of it. Yes.
I have here a piece of green limestone. If
Mhm.
you go out into our grotto, there are several large rocks like that. And it comes from a place, a county not too far from here. Never in my life had I seen green limestone.
Mhm.
But it reminds me of when most of Kansas or the United States was covered by an ocean. And this has no shells in it that I can see, but it just reminds me of our ancient history.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
This is Regina Ann, and this is part of my story that I really want to be writing. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I can't bring it in, but I looked at clouds out at my kitchen window all the time. And I keep reflecting back about years and years ago. My friend Betty Lavager had her children getting named from a medicine person. And so he named all of the children and so on and so forth. It was a whole afternoon. And then he looked at her and he asked, "Well, that's your sister. Does she have a name?" And she said, "Well, no, not she has a name, but not the way you're doing it." So he named me, and I can never remember how to pronounce the word in Ojibwe, but he translated it, "She sits among the clouds."
Oh, beautiful.
But clouds in that culture mean people who think and teach and are elders and so on and so forth. I wasn't young then, but an elder can be 40 years old in this
Yes.
culture.
Yeah.
And so whenever I look at clouds, I think of that.
That's beautiful, Regina Ann. Yes, thank you.
That's great.
Memories from Colorado, from one of the mesas, and pieces that have been shaped by the indigenous people who lived on this mesa. And I just love Colorado for one thing. And this was a neat find.
Beautiful. Lovely.
I have a coneflower.
Uh-huh.
And I like coneflowers. One, because a lot of them are healing, like echinacea.
Yes. Yes.
And they have many uses for humans as well as other non-human. And I just love that there are so many different colors of them. And I love that. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of orange.
Yes,
Orange.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I just like coneflowers.
Yeah. Beauty and healing use as well. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this or know what it is by just looking at it, but it's dead. And the reasons it's dead is that I did not want to pickle sunflower like Anna did. I took one of the dead hibiscuses, but every morning when I walk directly outside the auditorium is a bush of beautiful hibiscus, and they last for a day or so, and that's it. So I took this one because it was ready to fall off, and it'll go back. It'll go back into the earth again.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. That's lovely. That return to the earth. Yeah. Daniel.
Yes. For my animal, or for my nature symbol, I picked the box turtle, the ornate box turtle. I don't know if you guys can see.
Lovely.
And I did that because I identify with the box turtle. Before I say that, I just want to say that this whole thing is everything I'd hoped it to be. The contemplative part, not only to contemplate the beauty, but the suffering, as you did, and which helped you discern your vocation, I think is important. And this is one of the reasons I picked this as a nature symbol, because the ornate box turtle lives across the Great Plains from the tip of Texas up to southern South Dakota. And so it's very common in that way, but it also suffers in our modern world because they have no natural enemies, except in our modern world, they are crushed by vehicles, and they're killed by plows and hay balers and different things in our modern world. And so they struggle with that. A week ago today, I was at a festival at a nearby town, and they held a turtle race. And after the turtle race, there were 2 turtles that were abandoned. I tried to find out where they were from because I wanted to release them. And in order to release them, you should know where they're from, because they spend their time trying to find their way home if you let them go somewhere that's not where they came from. And so I took the turtles home. I let one go on the way, but the other turtle was this one I showed you a photo of. It had paint on its shell. And people don't realize what they're doing when they paint the shells. So I needed to remove the paint from the shell before I released the turtle. And we figured out how to do that. And the reason the shell needs to be restored is because the paint actually affects their ability to control their heat balance and other things. But anyway, we let it go Tuesday night, far away from roads on a pasture land. And it was kind of symbolic of how I felt about, caring for the environment.
Thank you, Daniel. That's a lovely reflection. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Betty from the Mother House Circle or group, and my symbol is a rock, a stone. And I think the reason I've always been fascinated by stones on the ground, and I don't know why I kind of noticed them, and I picked one of them up, and it was so heavy and so solid, and I thought that's like God in my life. God is so solid and lifts me up when I'm down and keeps me going. And so I like to carry this and sometimes just hold it in my hand and feel the solidness of it. And then yesterday afternoon, I was at the table up on Stafford, second Stafford, and I found this little piece of flower that was left there that I think was taken from a bouquet. And I thought, this too has the glory of God in it. And so I didn't want to just throw it up and pick it up and throw it in the wastebasket. So I'm going to take it and put it outside somewhere so it can maybe mix with others and provide some more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Anne, I think you were indicating.
Yes, I'm right here. And what I found the other night when I walked is a feather. And I often find feathers, and I just love to find them. But this is a little one. So it came from a little bird, and it looks in pretty good shape. So it made me think maybe it was preening itself or getting some help or whatever, but it's perfect. And I used to, I can put it here in front if you can't see it. I used to call these gods bookmarks because I like to use them in books then.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Anne, I think you were going to say something. Yes.
Yes, I'm Pat Luter. I'm your sister, Pat Luter. And
Come to
I
you,
brought,
Anne.
I brought a leaf. I have a whole pile of leaves in my room on a table. And every time I go for a walk, well, not every time, but most of the time when I go for a walk, I step over or I see ahead of me a leaf on the sidewalk. And I really believe that leaf is calling to me to pick it up and bring it in. And the other day, after that windstorm we had, this leaf was on the sidewalk, and it was a brand new leaf, and it was displaying everything about itself that was alive.
Lovely.
And I felt a call from it to bring it in. And so when I picked it up today, when Faye brought it down to me, I knew what was going to happen to it when I found it on the sidewalk, but I don't think it knew what was going to happen to it. And so it danced into shape and is there with all its buddies on my desk.
Lovely. Thank you. Now, I think if Anne Ashwood was trying to say something, go ahead, Anne.
I brought the first tomato that ripened from my tomato plants today.
Lovely.
I'm
Beautiful.
looking forward to enjoying it for supper.
Oh, that's wonderful, Anne. That's great. Great. Yeah. Anyone else? Although sorry, Christine.
No worries. I was originally thinking, well, rocks, because I'm always forever picking up rocks and looking at them. I thought, well, that's not appropriate, so I brought a shell. But considering somebody else had rocks, then I'm always forever picking them up, and I know it sort of connects me to all of creation, and I especially like the ones that are colorful, but also have some fossils in them. I found a few of those. And it just connects me to the richness of the earth. And, I've had reflections on the rocks, how you can have all this, the same kind of rock, but they're all different as well, just like we're the same, but we're all different. So I love rocks. I mean, even though, I took a whole pile of them and I put them back in the water, collected more.
You'll have to come back to the beach here, Christine.
And return.
Lovely, lovely. Is that Patty? Were you? Yeah.
I have a rock, and it's from the Atlantic coast. I got it many years ago. It was a time when I was struggling with my self-worth, and I thought, well, this rock is beautiful, and it conveyed to me that yes, you are beautiful as well. So it's always been a symbol to remind me of that.
Thank you. Lovely, beautiful. And Miriam, yes.
I also have a rock, and actually I don't collect rocks, but this rock was given to me. I do pastoral work in a nursing home that we sponsor. And one of the residents there is really a very good artist, and she still can paint on rocks. She painted this rock, and she painted, I don't know if I don't know how you can see it. Hold it in the camera. Oh, up here? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's the bird, and she painted it, and she wanted me to have it because she said, I know you like nature, and like she loves nature. So it has a special meaning to me because of this person, especially. And I do love birds, and I do love nature. So, but especially because she gave it to me. And I also just want to say thank you, because I won't be able to be here tomorrow morning. I will be at this villa doing pastoral work in the morning. And I just have appreciated this conference so much, Mary, and all of you who have shared and made it what it was. But Mary, thank you so much.
Thank you to you too. Lovely to
so
meet
much.
you.
And I'll be there for the retreat, the follow-up to it. So I'm so grateful for that too.
Great, wonderful.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. And so, well, now she said, anyone else? Sorry, am I? Thank you for those wonderful, wonderful examples. And now I'm demonstrating flying by the seat of the pants, because I'd forgotten this when I'd set out to sort of think this afternoon. But I think that this was a beautiful, lively discussion that contributed so much from your voices. So instead of doing that longer sharing on what shall we do, I think the being that you've just expressed is wonderful. However, we do have some time, and I just loved everything you just shared. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm so now in those three categories of responses, the contemplative response, the ascetic response, and the prophetic response, I wonder if for 20 minutes, about 20 minutes, bringing us to 3:50 your time, if we could just gather in our groups and just reflect on those possible responses: the contemplative response, the ascetic response, the prophetic response. I did also send a copy to you if anyone wants to do it at an individual level later on. But if we could break into our Mother House group and then the rest of us again, and just take those three categories and come up with at least one suggestion in each category about what may be helpful as a response: the contemplative response, the ascetic response, and the prophetic response. And you may want to put more than one in each category if you have the time. But if we could just begin to reflect and have a little conversation on each of those responses, please. So over to you for more of your wisdom too.
Could we be the ones who record?
This is Denise. And one of the things, one will probably be under prophetic. I used to work for the United States Department of Agriculture Farm Service Agency for 33 years. And there are an abundance of programs for minorities, especially women. You know, whether it's starting a farm or getting solar energy out for your cattle's for a windmill, for a water resource. So there's a lot of things that are available, programs that are available to help those that are marginalized or are of a not a mainstay producer, farmer, agriculture person. And I wish there was, and maybe we can, you know, one day have all these resources so they're readily available so that many people can use them and or have ideas and be able to look something up.
And I have a proposition, and it's actually something I already do, but I'm going to add something to it. I'm just going to make this as a suggestion. So this would be the contemplative along with the ascetic response.
I don't know
whether
whether
walking, I am usually praying in some way. And a lot of times I'm looking at people's yards. I love to look at people's yards.
Dan?
Who doesn't, you know.
Dan?
And I love it when I see somebody
mute
and
him.
all of a sudden, you know, they're starting to take care of it.
Okay, yes, they carry on. Thank you very much, Susan. Okay, so an example of a prophetic response. And actually, you ask a very important question there, Denise. Could we bring all of this together? What a great initiative. To try to bring all of these sort of resources together that we could share with other people. So I don't know if anyone feels inspired to work as part of a group to do that, but wouldn't that be a great initiative for people? So thank you for that. Again, I'm just wondering, would somebody like to present the ideas that we're...
Okay, Carm and Judy and myself we'll each take one section and we'll be the recorders.
Thank
okay?
you very much. Thank you. Lovely. So any other suggestions in any of those categories? Yes, Phil.
Okay, you know, I'm really so grateful, Mary, that you have given me some language to use for a problem that has really been vexing me, and that's, I was talking to Carm about this earlier. That's one-time use plastics.
Yes.
I have thought about it, prayed about it, worried about it, and I've been walking around with this sense of overwhelm and feeling held captive by one-use plastics. And just as we were sitting here talking about contemplation, asceticism, and the prophetic, it dawned on me that one of these things that I can do is what I've already been doing, which is to pray about this, and then to recognize my limitations, you know, and name it, that I cannot solve the one-time plastic issue. But what I can do in the aesthetic is to join our environmental group. And part of my mission at the beginning of the year was to, or when we turned in our mission slips, was to discern joining a committee in the community. And so I told Carm today, it feels like I'm being drawn towards the environmental integrity group that we have. And Carm suggested that, you know, if I looked at that one thing and did what research I could do on it and bring it back to the community, that would be something. You know, it's not the all solved problem, but it would be something in the direction of moving, and that's moving me into a conversion. It's moving me because it's moving me out of this feeling of captivity. And I know that sounds weird, but I do feel like I am imprisoned by one-time plastics, and I don't know what to do with it because it's all around us. So I appreciate, you know, you're giving us this 3 responses that I can take, you know, into my prayer rather than just throwing up my hands and saying, I can't do anything. You know, there is something that I can do, and recognizing your limitations is a something.
Yes.
You know?
I had, sorry, I didn't mean to.
I say it's a part of our CSJ response.
Thank you. Well, you make a couple of really excellent points. You know, sometimes we can't do everything we'd want to, and then we get kind of, as you said, imprisoned by it. It's amazing. We have a summer course here that we teach for the U of T. It's kind of a hands-on ecological theology course each summer, and we had a teacher in one of the Catholic schools, high schools, who came for that course. And she, like you, was worried about one-time plastics. So she decided to focus on just water bottles. And she said that it was difficult because, you know, they sold them at the tuck shop at school or whatever. Anyway, she was going to try to do something about it. So like you're suggesting, she researched, and then she took it back to the school. And eventually, the school decided to drop selling water bottles. And as a result of that, the whole school board took it on, which covered numerous schools across quite a large geographical area. And so it's great. You know, we pray about it. We realize our limitations. I had a very, very good friend who's now dead. She was an Augustinian sister in England, and she had worked in psychiatry for many, many years. And I remember she gave me some wonderful words of wisdom. She said, Mary, just stop and think about it. There is nothing about which something can't be done. And I've carried that wisdom, and I heard it in your voice just now too.
Yeah,
There's nothing about which something can't be done. We may not
right.
be able to do it all. So that's fabulous, fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to add in right now, Philonise, that I saw a 3-minute video online saying that in the end, it's the factories who have to stop producing it.
Yes.
And that we can never recycle ourselves out of this problem. And so
No.
to me, I push this into the prophetic part of what we have to do. I
Mhm.
agree with the companies, and
Yes.
that's the way to do it for Coca-Cola. I
Yeah.
mean, even online.
Yeah.
So we can do
It's
more.
a big fight.
Yeah.
It is. So it's not just our responsibility.
That's right. You know,
Thank you, Judy.
yeah, yeah. And that joins the advocacy sort of approach too. So wonderful. Thank you, Judy.
Yes.
I have a suggestion. This is Regina Ann. I don't know if any of you have watched, and I think Marcia has it because I think I know this video from her long time ago. There's a movie that you can find on YouTube called Where the Spirit Lives. And it's about an hour and a half long. And it's about the boarding school in Canada that was patterned after the ones here for Native American children. And the reason that they had the boarding schools was that the children would not know their culture anymore because they would be prisoned away in those boarding schools for length at a time. And so they didn't know their culture, they didn't know the meaning of the environment, and so on and so forth. But that video would be very helpful for anyone who wants to watch to see.
Yeah.
And it's a girl who was captured by the white people and probably never lived to live through it. Although at the end, it looks like she's trying to get away. But anyway, it's called Where the Spirit Lives, and you can find it on YouTube.
Thank you, Regina. And of course, the statement in those days was, take the Indian out of the child.
And that was the purpose of it.
Yeah. So that was, as you say, so that was that great cultural destruction
Yes.
that accompanies sort of ecology. Yes.
Yes, and they wanted the culture to be stripped away from the Indian people so that the Indian people would not want the land or would not have it. And so that's where we get the reservations. The reservations were set up so that Indian people were be forced to live away from the land that the white people needed. And so it's a long story, and I teach it all the time, but
And that's one of those.
It gets to be 2 or 3 courses that I teach at the college up here, the tribal college.
Wonderful.
I teach at the Turtle Mountain Tribal College up here. So
okay, that's wonderful, Regina. And of course, that is one of the prophetic moves that I think we need to make to and to learn to listen to one another's cultures and voices.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that the Lakota Indians do that I think I've been very interested in it, and I've talked with Jean Ann here, is doing a grounding ceremony where you ground yourself, your feet are on actually touching the ground, and you commute back into nature to get back in touch with that inner spirit and with nature at the same time. I think that would be very interesting to be a part of that ceremony. There's so much we can learn from the Native Americans.
Yeah.
But that is one where you get back in touch with nature that I've seen it, but I've never been a part of one.
And of course, there is that section in Laudato Si where Pope Francis asks us to listen to the indigenous wisdom. And so that's a move that we can make too. Anne, Anne, I think you were going to say something.
I'm moving into a senior living situation that is just now being built. So it'll be a year and a half before we're ready to move in. but we're having a ceremony, which I think, and this is all very commercial, but we're having a groundbreaking ceremony in August, and each of us is asked to bring a small baggie of the earth from where we currently live.
Lovely.
To be combined with the earth where we will be living. And I was so touched by that. We will combine our life.
What a lovely idea, Anne. Yeah, and to bring one another's soils. There is a lovely video we use for teaching. It's quite old now. It's called A Sense of Place. And it's a one, I don't know whether you can, I think you actually can get it online. A Sense of Place. And that begins with an Australian Aboriginal statement, a question that they always ask people. And it's a beautifully haunting question that is similar to the idea of bringing soil. And the question is, what waters do you come from? Where is your bone country? What waters do you come from? Where is your bone country? And I think that's a beautiful way of asking that question. You know, what soil is yours? What waters are yours? And it's lovely to use that, by the way, for storytelling. Any other suggestions? Suggestions for the aesthetic, giving up? More suggestions for prophetic or contemplative?
There's a hand up down here.
I think, Daniel. I think.
Yeah, when I adjust my microphone,
Oh.
it looks like I'm raising my hand.
I thought it was.
I do kind of have a question, Mary.
Sorry about that.
And maybe you already mentioned this, but do these three, do they build? Does one build on another? Is there an order to them? Did you maybe you already said that?
Well, only in as much as I mean, I think, as I said, that that conversion requires the engagement of the heart, you know,
right,
for us to do anything about something. And so arguably, you could say that, you know, perhaps the contemplative comes first. Although having said that, I think it's always cyclical. We move from the action to contemplation, action to contemplation. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. But I think one of the good starting points is that simply just being in nature, that contemplative, learn to fall in love again, you know, with nature. And that helps us then to engage the heart to actually get up and do something about it. But there's not a strict sort of linear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
You know, this is Carmen again, and that article that you gave us about biophonics, you know, I love that. And I thought to myself, you know, this whole thing of immersing yourself in nature, I think just to become much more aware. And it's like a bird, the sound of the bird, and how much of a difference that can make as you really attend to it. And
yes.
Okay, you're on, Jen. Betty, do you want to do it?
Sorry.
Yes, I don't know if I got blocked out, but I just wanted to say, I know that that's a contemplative thing to do, but there's something in that maybe there's a greater sharing that could be done with others.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And there are ways of engaging people, aren't there, contemplatively outside. So that's beautiful. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for those wonderful comments and suggestions. And I can see Marcia there. So let's have a little bit of some general feedback, please.
Just a word from the group in the auditorium. We had a number of bits and pieces to our conversation that were rich, but the two things that seemed to really come forward, one was to start reflecting together on the Sunday readings with the lens of creation. And the other one was to start some sort of a contemplative group to try to move ourselves deeper, to listen more deeply to the call of the Spirit, and to be with each other in that.
Thank you. Lovely. Yes, collectively coming together. And then there isn't really, we're not creating a dichotomy between creation and everything else. We're actually taking all of the readings and asking, what is it that they have to say to us?
Judy, I think maybe you want to choose, because
Anyone else in the auditorium wishing to say anything?
I think Philomene's talked first. I just wrote this. You know, you've not got the same thing. So.
Okay, over to the boxes, the people in boxes. Over to the people in boxes.
I'll start first. I recorded the prophetic statements. Denise was strong on the great abundance of government programs that can help the marginalized or women or people who need help, and it's not widely known. And then Philomene's passionate feeling about one-use plastics, and then there were several comments after that about what we can do about that.
Lovely, thank you.
These do kind of intertwine.
Yes.
But, I picked up what I termed as contemplative, and I thought Regina Ann's comments about watching that movie on YouTube where the spirit lives.
Yes.
She gave that background, and spoke passionately, of course, about the Native Americans having to move away from their land where the white people wanted to go. And then someone, I think it was also Denise, who talked about grounding ourselves, doing a ceremony, some kind of a ceremony in which we really get in touch with where we are standing.
Lovely. Thank you.
And then I think you added, Mary, what waters do you come from and what bones?
Where is your, what water, it's an Aboriginal, Australian Aboriginal Indigenous question. What water do you come from? Where is your bone country?
Where is your
it's lovely for storytelling. It's beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
And then a couple, that whole notion of learning to fall in love again and to immerse ourselves in nature.
Great.
Kind of as a methodology for doing that.
Lovely, thank you.
In the aesthetic.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to add anything, to ask a question, to make a comment as we come nearing to closing time? Well, just to say that I did send out that handout, which some of you have probably printed off, with those 3 categories on it: the contemplative response, the ascetic response, and the prophetic response. And you may wish to use that to either individually look at it, or to come together in your families or your communities, and with a group, and actually just explore that, because I think it gives us that potential to really take Laudato Si and turn it into action. And there are a lot of materials online about Laudato Si and facilitating Laudato Si workshops, environmental committees and groups that we may be part of. And so I think that some lovely suggestions coming from you. Thank you very much. And so I'm just going to flip the screen share on again for a couple of moments. Just to say a couple of things. That this whole idea of loving creation and therefore caring for it is about love. It's about our Christian love, our human love, our love as part of creation. And I think Ilia Delio says it beautifully when she says, we know love when we can suffer through the fragility of life into something more. The suggestions you've made this afternoon are that suffering with and through the fragility of life, both the beauty and the fragility of creation, of ourselves. We know love when we can suffer through the fragility of life into something more. And just a word about the fragility. I was touched, Phil, by your comment about, we can't do everything. And sometimes we get stymied or imprisoned by that thought, rather than saying we might be able to do something. And I did say to our group in the little boxes, that a friend of mine who was an Augustinian sister in England, who had worked in the psychiatric field for many years, always used to say to me, Mary, there is nothing about which something can't be done. And I think, Phil, you exemplified that by saying, maybe I can just do one small thing. And I think that's true for all of us. And I don't know whether Janet Lander is online today, but I did hear from somebody that Janet has a lovely way of saying that every little piece actually counts and does make a difference. I don't know whether you're there, Janet. I didn't see your name today, but okay. So those of you who know her might ask her the exact reference to that, but Janet apparently says that even a small thing, maybe Calm or Judy, did you mention that yesterday? No, maybe not. Okay, so every small thing can count, and every small thing is about loving creation. And so unless there's any last moment questions or comments, I'd like to end with just this part of a poem by Wendell Berry to remind us that as we struggle with all of these things, even in the dark, Wendell Berry says this, for it is always there, even in the dark, almost in the dark, but shining out at times like gold stitches in a piece of embroidery. Love is what carries you. It is always there, even in the dark, almost in the dark, but shining out at times like gold stitches in a piece of embroidery. So, well, thank you for another great day together with you all. Especially thank you for your nature reflections and your suggestions, practical suggestions. And I will look forward to seeing you more briefly in the morning. Not that I'm looking forward to it being brief, but looking forward to looking forward to seeing you again in the morning. So have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Mary.
And it's 9:15, everybody, 9:15.